is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi. Here now, Tony Bruschi.
There is surveillance footage from a Lowe's in Danvers, Massachusetts, January 1st, 2023, New Year's Day. The store is mostly empty because it's a holiday and normal people are home nursing hangovers or watching football, but there's a man walking through the cleaning supply aisle. He's wearing a face covering. He's wearing blue latex gloves, and he's pushing a cart that's filling up with items you don't buy unless you're about to do something you never want anyone to find out about. Hacksaw, hatchet, fixed blade, utility knife, Tyvek suit, mops, buckets, cleaning rags, sanding materials. Hey, we're here to help. What else can we get for you, sir? What else would you use to clean up body parts? I'm surprised that that's not part of this. Maybe he got someone at the store that was hard of hearing and that just was never picked up. Who knows? I mean, anything is possible at this point. He gets to the self-checkout, kiosk, bags, everything himself. While the clerk scans it through, the total comes to $463.23. He pays with $500 bills, cash, no card, no trace, other than the cameras that are capturing every moment of this. Then he pushes the cart back out to the parking lot, loads it in his vehicle, and drives off into the sunset. You know, I believe they were calling him Wildfire. No, okay. That man, according to prosecutors, is Brian Walshe. And according to prosecutors, his wife, Anna, had been dead for less than 24 hours at this point. Good day for a spring cleaning, eh? Today was day 6 for his murder trial in Norfolk Superior Court, and the Commonwealth spent most of it showing the jury exactly what Brian Walshe did in the hours and days after Anna Walshe disappeared. They played surveillance footage, they introduced receipts, they called employees from Lowe's, CVS, Walgreens, Stop and Shop, a liquor store in Swampscott to the stand, and then they brought in a crime lab specialist who walked jurors through what investigators found when they tested the items Walshe allegedly threw away. And then they said, open bar! Because everybody was in the same conference room at the Holodome when all this was going on. And there's like, whoa! The hacksaw tested positive. I made that. The hacksaw tested a positive for blood. So did the hatchet, which carried a greasy oil-like residue that the specialist said is consistent with cutting onto human tissue. The hammer came back positive. The tin snips came back positive. Towels, slippers, a yellow smiley face sponge, rolled up carpet fragments with visible blood clots and strands of human hair. All of it positive for blood. Gosh, I knew if I would have known we were going to have the smiley face sponge come up here in the show. I would have brought in it as a prop, because can't you just picture him like scrubbing away at something, and he's just like leaning over it, and he's getting this like look on his face, like that dopey look he has, where it's, I know more than you do. I have a Nintendo. You have an Atari. Am I holding back some things from you all? And that's a little past aggression there. Might be. Anyway. But is he that dope? Yes, he is. He is. So can't you just picture this man scrubbing away? The only thing that's smiling back at him is the kitchen smiley sponge. And a smile comes to his face and he brushes his hair back. Gotta look good for the sponge, don't you? Today's sponge. I heard it. Elaine has a few. A kitchen knife hidden in a cabinet above the refrigerator in the Walshe home. That on top of everything else we just talked about, all positive for blood. But here's where it gets interesting, because the defense in this case isn't arguing that Brian Walshe didn't dispose of his wife's body. He already pled guilty to that. He admitted to misleading police and improperly handling human remains. What he's fighting is a murder charge. His lawyers say Anna Walshe died suddenly and unexpectedly in their bed, some kind of medical event, and Brian, terrified that no one would believe him, got panicked and got rid of her body and kept custody of their 3 kids. Yeah. So the question isn't whether he cut her up. The question is whether he killed her first. And that's where the forensic testimony today became a problem for the defense, because crime lab specialist Matthew Sheehan didn't just tell the jury what tested positive for blood. He told them what didn't. The bedroom. The room where the defense says Anna died peacefully in her sleep. Had white residue on the floor and an area where the varnish appeared to have been removed. Investigators dug up a section of that flooring, looking for biological evidence. They found nothing. The ceiling had a hole in it, but the insulation was undisturbed. The closet was exhumated, nothing. The bed was visually inspected, no visible stains, no testing conducted. Defense attorney Larry Tipton asked Sheehan directly, "There's nothing in that bedroom that indicates that anything forensic was found in that bedroom." Sheehan's answer, correct. The bathrooms on the second floor tested, the sinks, the showers, the cleaning squeegees, all negative. The stairway from the second floor to the first, no blood on the stairs, the railing, or the wall. But the basement, that's where we're going to get to Amityville Horror blood room territory. That's a different story. Sheehan's labeled A through G on the basement floor, all positive for blood. A stain in the support beam behind the stairwell, positive. A stain near the pile of black trash bags. Yep, you guessed it, positive. The broken bottom step had a purple residue from the chemical testing. So you got a bedroom that's forensically clean, bathrooms that are clean, stairs that are clean, and a basement floor covered in blood right next to the trash bags. I call Mr. Yellow in the basement. But what did he use? Well, clearly anything he had around him, because he's got hacksaws, you got knives, you got God knows what, and that's just the shit they found. Usually killers get rid of some stuff, and not everything is found. Who knows? But he is kind of a dope, so there is that. If Anna died of natural causes in her bed, how did her blood end up on the floor in the basement? Well, the state's medical examiner, Dr. Richard Atkinson, took to the stand earlier in the day, and the defense went on hard with him. On cross, Larry Tipton walked him through every possible scenario for sudden unexplained death, cardiac events, pulmonary issues, asphyxiation. That's okay. Yeah, I don't know. You want to bring that word up in this context, neurological disturbances. You got Atkinson to concede that, yes, people can die suddenly without warning. Yes, it can happen to young, healthy people. Yes, it can happen during sleep, after travel, after stress, even after sex. Yes, someone can appear to move or speak right up until the moment of death. Tipton was building a world where Anna Walshe could have simply died in bed without any prior symptoms, and Brian, finding her that way, made a catastrophically bad decision about what to do next. But then the prosecutor got Atkinson back on redirect, and the medical examiner made one thing very clear. Sudden, unexpected death in a healthy 39-year-old woman is pretty rare for someone with no medical history. It's definitely not common at all. And when asked specifically about sudden arrhythmia, the kind of electrical heart disturbance Tipton kept circling back to, Atkinson said it belongs at the very bottom of the list of possible explanations in this case. He also pointed out something the jury already knows, but needed to hear from a medical professional. His office could not determine a cause or manner of death because there was no body to autopsy. The signs of sudden death, clotting, bleeding around the brainstem, cardiac abnormalities, those would typically be visible during an autopsy, but there's no body to autopsy. Brian Walshe saw to that. He's already pled guilty to improperly disposing of his wife's remains. The footage from the liquor store is a detail that's going to stay with people, though. Vinin Liquors in Swampscott. Come on down this weekend. It's 2 for 1. I'm not making any advertisement for Vin Liquors in Swampscott. Come on down this weekend. Free suckers for the kids. What? That's all we can advertise legally on the radio. Oh, it's liquor out. Yes, free sucker. It's the only thing we have that's free. There you go. There's some states that know exactly what I'm talking about because there are laws like that. Anyway, a place Walshe frequented on weekends was Swampscott Liquors, where he went for the free suckers. The manager testified that they all knew him, said he was the kind of customer who hung around longer than most, made conversation with the staff. I bet that was some, gems of conversation. Can you imagine those? Oh, my God. On New Year's Day, Walshe pulled into the parking lot. The store was closed for the holiday. He sat in the driver's seat for a while. Then he got out wearing a face covering, walked to the back of his vehicle, popped the trunk, pulled out a trash bag, and carried it to the loading dock. He tossed it into the dumpster and left. Police later recovered that dumpster. Inside, they found carpet fragments with blood clots and human hair. You went to your liquor store and you dumped that? What kind of a sacrilegious alcoholic are you? I'm not saying he's an alcoholic. I'm just making a joke. They found a piece of Gucci jewelry, a charm without a chain, the word Gucci engraved on one side. Anna Walshe owned Gucci jewelry. The prosecution also called 2 of Anna's co-workers to testify about their interactions with Brian in the days after she vanished. Teresa Marchese, who worked in HR at Tishman Speyer, said she first spoke with Brian on January 4th, 2023, 3 days after he claims that Anna left for that work emergency. Brian told her he hadn't seen his wife since New Year's Day. He said she'd left early in the morning to handle something urgent at work. Marchese checked. There was no work emergency on January 1st. She asked Brian if Anna had any mental health issues. He said no. He said they just had a wonderful holiday with friends. He was polite, calm, pleasant even. Later that day, Marchese conferenced in Hugh Dunleavy, the company's head of security and former Secret Service agent. She introduced Brian to Dunleavy, and he told him he was ex-Secret Service and that Brian would be in good hands. And then something happened. Brian Walshe, who had been calm and cordial, suddenly sounded like he was crying. He said he needed a minute. I guess if you just did all that shit, I think, and you're introduced like, I want to let you know my wife's dead. She's missing. Even though you just chopped her up. The first person, is it like, we're so sorry to hear it. This is HR. They're gonna, we're gonna get you, whatever benefits, however we can help you. We had a nice casserole that rose down the hall. No, the first thing you get is, and by the way, yes, come over here, sir. We have Secret Service agent. He's gonna be helping from here on out. We were just talking with Jennifer Coffindaffer about Luigi Mangione just the other day. And she shared, and I was remiss to this, I guess. He had wet himself at the McDonald's when he was arrested. There's photos of him, and he's wet himself. And she said it's a very common thing to have happen. me wonder if there had been a camera on him in this moment of, nice to meet you. Former Secret Service of Secrets? Like, what is that? Secret Society? That Service of Secrets. Oh, that one. Yeah. Love to have been in that room. So he started crying. 20 to 30 seconds later, he was composed again. Dunleavy asked Brian how Anna had traveled back to D.C. Brian said he didn't know, which contradicted what he'd said earlier about her flying out for an emergency. Dunleavy asked if Brian had used Find My iPhone to locate her. Brian said no. No. Dunleavy asked if Brian had reported his wife missing. Brian said, oh, no. Dunleavy told him he needed to call the police immediately. You fucking idiot. I added that part. He said he would personally call Cohasset PD himself if Brian didn't, and Brian said he would. I got you, dude. I got you. There's also the matter of the life insurance. Anna Walshe had a policy through her employer worth 2 times her annual salary. She made about $220,000 a year. That's roughly $500,000. That would be the insurance policy. Then the beneficiaries were Brian Walshe and their 3 children. Murchie's confirmed that Brian never contacted the company to change Anna's benefits. The Lowe's footage from January 4th is almost darkly absurd. Brian Walshe shows up at Weymouth location with one of his sons. The child's face is blurred in the video, thank goodness. He's scanning items at a self-checkout kiosk. At one point, he hands the scanner to the kid. The store employee walks over to help. Brian glances at his phone, picks up a large box, and walks out with his son beside him. 3 days after allegedly murdering his wife and, by his own admission, disposing of her remains, he's running errands with his child. The prosecution is moving fast. Judge Diane Fern told jurors that on Friday, that the trial, originally estimated for 4.5 weeks, will likely wrap up in 3. The Commonwealth is already about 1/3 of the way through their case. They've shown the jury the digital evidence, the text messages, the Google searches. They've walked them through the tools recovered from the dumpster and the blood found in the basement. They've introduced the surveillance footage of a masked man bearing cleanup supplies with cash on the day his wife disappeared. And now they're laying out the forensic picture: blood on the hacksaw, blood on the hatchet, blood on the hammer, blood on the carpet, blood in the basement, but not in the bedroom, not in the bathrooms, not on the stairs, and most importantly to Michael Jackson, you all knew it was coming, not on the dance floor. The defense is betting everything on reasonable doubt. They're hoping the jury looks at the lack of a body, the absence of forensic evidence in the bedroom, and the possibility, however, remote, that Anna Walshe died of natural causes and her husband simply made the worst decision of his life in the aftermath. But there's a piece of Gucci jewelry sitting in an evidence bag right now. It was found in a rolled-up carpet stained with her blood clots and human hair, pulled from a dumpster behind a liquor store that was closed on New Year's Day. A dumpster that Brian Walshe drove to alone with a trash bag in his trunk. That's not panic. It's a plan. Your thoughts in the comments section. Would love to hear them. On YouTube, Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi is where you'll find us. If you're listening to us on the podcast platform, please do check us out there. And no matter where you're at, if you could do me a favor, if you're liking our commentary, you're liking what we're doing here and how we're doing the show, please leave us a positive review over on Apple Podcasts. Really would appreciate that. Take 2 seconds, just leave us a nice review. We really, really appreciate that. Helps us be found and more people to be part of our program. So thank you so much for that. Until next time, I'm Tony Bruschi. We will talk again.
Want more on this case and others? Then press subscribe now and don't miss a moment of true crime coverage from Tony Bruschi and the Hidden Killers podcast.